Shalom, this is Levi Shore. Welcome back to Sweet Good Torah. So it's a huge question. What is the purpose of the Jewish people? What are we supposed to be doing? Right? So you hear a lot of different opinions of the direction of what the Jewish people are supposed to be doing. But we're going to go to the very beginning. Where did it all start? So it all started with Avraham and Sarah. It started with Abraham and Sarah. And they started the mission of the Jewish people, and we'll see what it is. Now, Sarah, we learn in Parsha Chaye Sarah, brings life into the world. We're going to see what does that mean. Now, I heard an amazing shir today. I was driving carpool this morning. I was listening to Torah Anytime, and I heard a shir by Rabbi Moshe Dan Kessenbaum. And he had this very interesting idea I never thought of before. He said that Yitzchak never gave up on Eisav. Even though Eisav wasn't following in the ways of Avraham and Yitzchak, of Abraham and Isaac, and he wasn't taking up the Torah, and he wasn't taking up the mission, Yitzchak never gave up on him. And it led me to this insight that I never really thought about. The Torah, it's so clear in the Torah that Avraham loved Yishmael. Even though, of course he loved Yitzchak. Yitzchak was his precious son. But he never gave up on Yishmael either. Even though Yishmael wasn't following in his in the mission, Avraham never gave up on Yishmael, which is very interesting. And then we see it too with Yitzchak. Yitzchak, of course, he loved Yaakov. Yaakov was his precious son that was following, the mission and following in his ways. But he also he loved Eisav, and he never gave up on Eisav, even though Eisav turned away. And we see that Eisav marries his wives. Were worshiping Avodah Zarah, were worshiping idols. He never ever gave up on Eisav. It's fascinating. And it says, even though Yitzchak and Rivka, it drove them crazy, it tormented them to see, how the wives of Eisav were behaving. Yitzchak he always loved them. He always loved Eisav, and he never gave up on him. And it's a very interesting lesson. It's an important part of Jewish history that we're going to see. And then we're going to see that what did Abraham fight against? In his days, he fought against, when he was 48 years old, is when they were building the tower of the Migdal Bavel, the Tower of Babel, and we'll see what were they trying to do. And he fought against it. And his father was a royal idol maker. Terach was a royal idol maker for the first king, for Nimrod. And we see what's the idol worship in our days. We feel like in some ways we live in this modern world where we don't have idol worship anymore. But really, the real religious fanaticism, if you really see where it's coming from, is atheism. And the biggest religious fanatics are the atheists nowadays, and they want to push out any belief in Hashem, any belief in God. All right, so let's go to the very beginning. All right, so how does she bring life into the world? And what was the mission? What did Avraham and Sarah, what did they start? What they started and how they're bringing life in the world is that Avraham, which is very interesting, by just analyzing the world, by very deeply studying the world, he somehow, and not quite sure how he did this, but he somehow learned the whole Torah. So even before the Torah was given, by closely studying the Ma'aseh Bereshis, by studying the creation, he was able to understand the whole Torah, which is fascinating, just through the study of the world. And he learned out the whole Torah from that. And he wanted to share it with the world. He wanted to share with the world that there was this one infinite being that created everyone, that loves everyone. And that why did Hashem create the world? That Hashem wants a personal relationship with each person. Why else create the world? And then the Ramchal, Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, he teaches many times that what Hashem ultimately wants to do is he wants to give good to everyone in the world, but the best way to give good is he wants people to earn it. You can give someone a great gift, but they don't feel like it's theirs unless they earned it. So Hashem gave the world the Torah, And that's how, through the mitzvos, we can earn this great reward of Olam Haba. And not only that, not only can we earn the reward, we can transform this world into Olam Haba. So how did Abraham and Sarah, how did they bring life back into the world? And what exactly is the mission of the Jewish people? Like, what's our goal? What are we doing? So what they started to do is they started to do a tikkun. They started to fix what, in a sense, Adam and Chava, Adam and Eve, what they had broke. And the original disconnection was that instead of eating from the Eitz Chaim, instead of viewing the whole world only through the lens of the Torah, they chose to eat first from the Eitz Das Tovara, knowledge. So it's good. It's good to acquire knowledge. It's good to acquire wisdom. But when you acquire wisdom or knowledge in secular, let's say secular wisdom, it's good or evil. And it's really, in a sense, or the truer sense, it's really good and evil mixed together. Whereas the Eitz Chaim, where Torah is only good. So now evil's brought into the world, and brought even more tragically into all of us. So now the Yetzer Hara, this evil impulse, the evil ideas, instead of them being external to us, now they become internal. So now we have this internal struggle between the Yetzer Hara and the Yetzer HaTov. And Adam and Sarah, they began to fix this. And this is really the mission of the Jewish people. And to bring the knowledge of Hashem into the world is one of our main goals, that there's Ein Od Milvado. There's only one infinite being. There's only one divine power, and that's it. There's no other power. And then, through the Torah and the mitzvos, it gives us, and through tefillah, through prayer, it gives us a way to connect to the source of life, to connect with this infinite being. And that starts to bring life into the world. When we attach ourselves to the Eitz Chaim, the tree of life, we can bring life back into the world, and we can live long days. It can extend our lives. But most importantly, it can give us life in Olam Haba. And it starts to help transform this world, Olam Hazeh, into Olam Haba. So what the Nevi'im have talked about, what the prophets have talked about, all the miraculous visions of world peace, where even the predatory animals lay down with the nice, animals like the lion, won't attack the lamb anymore, and nations won't attack each other. Because then the Yetzer Hara, the evil impulse, will be destroyed. Evil will be destroyed. There will be no more death, and it will be a life or world of all life. So that's the mission. That's the goal. And we do it simply through learning the Torah, doing the mitzvos, gemilas chasadim, acts of kindness. And this is how they began. So Avraham and Sarah, they open up their tent on 4 sides, it says, 4 sides, and they welcome everyone in. And it said, like, Avraham, they gave them these like exquisite meals that you would find in like a 5-star hotel. And he said, it's all free. It's all free if you just thank Hashem. You thank the creator of all life. Thank him for the food. Because recognize that the source of everything is coming from Hashem. So this becomes the battle. Now it's interesting. So then we talked about Abraham loving Yishmael. Even though Yishmael veered away from the mission, Abraham still loved him. He never gave up on his son. And it's fascinating. So what did Yishmael's children go on to do? They went on to create Islam. So Islam, it's kind of some of the ideas of the Torah, but it's not the Torah itself. It's not the Torah and the mitzvos itself. But they went out there and they started teaching the world, some of the concepts in the Torah. So it's something. And Rambam says ultimately this is going to prepare the world for Mashiach. But the idea is, like, we never give up on anyone. Like, Hashem never gives up on anyone. We you don't want to invite like an evil person into your home. But you want to try, if you can, you want to try to help them. You don't have to destroy yourself or your family, but you try to help people. There's limits, but you can always, encourage people to strive for the good, to strive for a more elevated life. And so the same thing also with Yitzchak. He loved Eisav, even though Eisav leaves the mission, stops the Tikkun Olam. and goes off on his own, goes after, bad way, Yitzchak never gives up on him. He always loves him. Now, what happened to Esav's children? Esav's children go on to found the Roman Empire and eventually the establishment of Christianity. So it's the same thing. It's the same thing in Yishmael. So they've accepted, Christianity has accepted the Torah Eisav, the written Torah, but they don't accept the Torah Sheba'al Peh, the explanation of how to do all the mitzvahs, or they haven't really accepted the mitzvahs themselves. But learning the Torah Eisav, the written Torah, and it's elevating, and it starts to elevate the world. It's not the full mission, but it's starting to lead on the path to Mashiach. So once again, Rambam says the purpose of Islam and Christianity eventually going to teach the world. It's helping to teach the world the concepts. So when Mashiach comes, when Hashem sends Mashiach, and Mashiach starts to teach the Torah, the world's ready to accept it. Because these ideas are not out of nowhere, right? It's impossible to go from worshiping Zeus or Isis or some kind of pagan idol worship or Avodah Zarah to accepting the Torah. It's too far. But now there's steps that the world's been taking for thousands of years, getting us closer and closer to this vision of the Nevi'im, the prophets of world peace. So it can happen. We're in a world that seems very chaotic right now, but we're right there. We're right on the threshold of the beginning of Yemot Mashiach, the days of Mashiach, the days of the Messiah. Okay, so now what's one of the main, how we say it? Who's fighting the hardest against the mission of Avraham and Sarah right now? And we see that, so we have to go back to the origin of that. And the origin of that is really the Tower of Babel, the Migdal Bavel. So what were they doing? So they had three ideas. One of the groups was they didn't want the din. They didn't want the judgment from Hashem anymore. They wanted to somehow get out of this judgment. Like if they did bad, they didn't want to be punished for it. So they had what seems like a crazy idea that they were going to build these 4 towers. That was going to somehow hold up the sky. And it seems ludicrous to us. It seems insane. But there's a lot of other, ideas that are insane, that people, accept. So if it's in your best interest, unfortunately, people sometimes, or it's people's desires, they'll accept crazy ideas. So then there's the second group that wanted to make a name for themselves. And this can mean different things. This can mean like they wanted to make a new idol to worship, a new divine being. But in some ways we see this in the Enlightenment and in the invention of humanism, of the beginnings of atheism, that really the name they want to make for themselves, what we see that really one aspect of this is people want to worship themselves, worship humanity. And once again, they don't want it to be dependent on Hashem. So they want to make a name for themselves. And then the third group outright wanted to go to war against Hashem. And it's, once again, it's a ludicrous idea, but there's many people that have thought this up until now, all throughout history, that they can somehow defeat an infinite being. And the infinite being that's given everyone all life, and there would be no earth, no universe, no nothing, if Hashem didn't constantly keep it in existence. So once again, it's a ludicrous idea, but people fall into these crazy ideas. And this is really the main idol worship of our times. So what's our battle? Our battle is clarity of the world and how the world works, how the world was created, and why it was created, and what the purpose, what our purpose is in this world. And that's really where the main battle is. So the main arch enemy of the Jewish people that have this idea of the war against Hashem, the war against God, are Amalek. And they're basically hidden all throughout world history. We've seen them emerge a couple times. When we left Egypt in miraculous fashion, they were the first nation to attack us. When the whole world was scared of the Jewish people because they saw the 10 plagues in Egypt and they saw the miraculous splitting of the Red Sea, that enraged Amalek. They began their war against God, and they attacked us to show that we could be attacked. Which hurts the emunah, hurts the belief, the trust of the world in Hashem. And then we see them rise up again, many times, throughout the Tanakh, but in the story of Purim and the Megillas Esther, in the days of Mordecai and Esther, Haman, the wicked Haman, in the height of the Persian Empire. And then once again, it launches this idea to complete genocide of the Jewish people, that Haman wanted to destroy the whole Jewish people, and then we were miraculously saved. And then more recently, in the 20th century, we see the emergence of the Nazis once again. Amalek comes back onto the world stage. But mainly Amalek's always whispering in the ears of the world leaders and the people and the citizens of the world. And they're in their secret societies, and they're, and we see this, we see the war of Amalek in this idea of this NWO, this New World Order, this world government, this atheist government, where they want to pretend that Hashem doesn't exist. And the battle, in some ways, is more of a battle of ideas, and in some ways it's a physical battle. I mean, right now, the powers of Islam, we see Iran through their proxies in Hamas and Hezbollah, and the Houthis, and the terrorist group in Iraq and in Syria, and just this physical war. And it seems like maybe there's going to be a pause in it, maybe there'll be a ceasefire now. But the main objective is to physically destroy the Jewish people. But also, unfortunately, we see this idea, this new religion of the low L, the no God, that we learn about in Parsha Chazino, the atheism. And that's you see the greatest fanatics, the greatest religious fanatics now. It's not the Vatican right now with like a Spanish Inquisition. It's the religious fanaticism of atheism, where they want to drive the knowledge of Hashem and the Torah and the mitzvahs out of the world, and Chas v'shalom, in some cases, then, they want to destroy the messengers. They want to destroy the Jewish people. So this is it. This is our battle. This is our fight. This is what's begun so long ago. And it's the battle between light and darkness, between clarity of an infinite being that loves us, and it's expressed, and we see it. And what Avraham and Sarah taught is that the easiest way, in some ways, to connect to Hashem and to bring the knowledge of Hashem into the world is simply by being kind to other people. And it's so important. And in some ways, it's being lost. You see the fanatical fighting of the political groups. And, and even in Israel itself, I mean, we're being led by, this atheist government. I mean, it's not the purpose of Jewish history. It's not our end goal. And it's so crazy. But the war can be won on some level, and the victory begins with just love and kindness for each other. All right. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope to see you back again soon on Sweet and Good Torah.